Have you ever found yourself doing something or maybe believing something that just didn't quite feel right? Like there was some kind of invisible hand subtly guiding your choices or shifting how you see things. We all navigate this really complex world of influence, every single day, and often we don't even realize the forces at play. So today we're diving deep. We've got some fascinating material here on dark psychology, persuasion, and also neuro-linguistic programming. We're going to explore the art and I guess the science too of how people can be influenced, manipulated, maybe even controlled. And our mission for you listening right now is pretty clear. We want to equip you with the knowledge, the tools really, to understand these interactions, to help you spot them when they're happening and ultimately empower yourself. Protect your own mind, your autonomy. It's about being informed, not so you can wield power, but so you can be truly in command of your own life.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. When we talk about dark psychology, it sounds kind of intense, like something from a spy novel almost.
Right.
What exactly is it?
And how is it different from just, regular psychology?
Yeah, that's a really great question because the difference is crucial. So general psychology looks at human behavior, thoughts, interactions, across the board. But dark psychology specifically zeroes in on the predatory side of things, the art and science of manipulation and mind control. It looks at the tactics that, well, malicious people use to motivate, persuade, sometimes coerce others. And it's always for their own benefit, right? Often it's really detrimental to the victim. What's often missed, I think, is that these actions, these predatory actions, they're rarely random. They're purposeful, driven by specific, often quite dark motivations, even if they seem totally irrational from the outside.
So it's not just the extreme stuff we see in movies then, like the cartoon villains. It's
Yeah.
much more insidious, sneakier than that.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. While dark psychology definitely covers those extreme cases, online predators, stalkers, con artists, that sort of thing. Our focus today is really on the subtle stuff, the potent aspects you're actually far more likely to bump into in everyday life. It's kind of a sobering thought, but look, every human has the potential for a dark side.
Yeah.
But there's a small percentage of the population that really struggles to keep those darker urges in check. And that leads to behaviors that, well, maybe they're not always criminal, but they're definitely harmful, definitely manipulative.
That is a bit unsettling. But it means understanding who we might be dealing with is incredibly important then. The sources we looked at mention the 4 dark psychology traits. That sounds like a pretty fundamental framework. What are these core traits, the ones manipulators often seem to embody?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because psychologists used to talk mainly about the dark triad, but the field's evolved a bit, and now it often includes sadism. So we get the 4 dark psychology traits, or sometimes called the dark tetrad. Recognizing these traits, and remember, they exist on a spectrum, and everyone is kind of your first line of defense. So first up, we have narcissism.
Narcissism. We hear that word a lot.
We do. And it's characterized by, grandiosity, this feeling of superiority, needing dominance, entitlement. Narcissists, they can be really charming at first, very charismatic. But the real tell, it's that profound lack of empathy. They're they're essentially in love with this perfect idealized version of themselves that only exists in their head. And this drives them to constantly seek what's called narcissistic supply.
Narcissistic supply.
Yeah, attention, admiration, control, anything to feed that really fragile ego underneath. And when that perceived dominance gets threatened, even just a little bit, they can erupt. Intense anger, rage sometimes. That's your mental alarm bell right there. Shows the deep insecurity hiding beneath that charming surface.
Okay, so that's narcissism. What's next in the tetrad?
Moving from that kind of self-absorbed state, we get Machiavellianism. It's named after Niccolo Machiavelli, who wrote The Prince. This trait is all about deceitfulness, a really cynical view of the world, and this core belief that the end justifies the means.
Okay, so very calculating.
Extremely. Machiavellians are emotionally detached, they're amoral, completely self-interested. They see life as a zero-sum game, win or lose. They're remarkably good at interpersonal manipulation. And they really won't hesitate to lie, cheat, or even harm others if it helps them reach their goals. You often find them climbing the ladder, maybe in positions of power, business, politics, and they're very skilled at crafting public images, perceptions that serve their own agenda.
Right. Deceptive. And the third one?
Then there's psychopathy. This one is often seen as the most malevolent trait.
That sounds serious.
It is.
Yeah.
Psychopaths show very low empathy, high impulsivity, and this chilling lack of conscience, often coupled with grandiosity, like narcissists, and also thrill-seeking behavior. What's really interesting is they learn to mimic normal emotions just by watching others. So they can appear charming, very normal, while internally feeling nothing. It's generally thought that psychopathic traits are largely innate, influenced by genetics, brain structure.
Ah, so different from sociopathy.
Yeah, that's a key distinction often made. Sociopathy is seen as more environmentally shaped, while psychopathy has stronger biological roots. But again, it's a spectrum, and experts use tools, like the Hare Psychopathy Checklist, to assess where someone might fall on it.
Okay, so narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy. What's the fourth? The one added to the triad?
That would be sadism.
Sadism, just deriving pleasure from hurting others.
Exactly. A sadist gets actual pleasure, enjoyment, directly from seeing others suffer or be humiliated. They might actively work to cause unhappiness. Try to get someone fired, ruin relationships just for their own enjoyment. A really common everyday example, think about internet trolls.
Ah, yeah.
People who make deliberately negative or inflammatory comments online just to annoy people or get a rise out of them. They actually savor the discredits they cause.
Wow. That's quite a stark picture, thinking these traits exist all around us, even in subtle ways. So, okay, we know the who, roughly. Now let's pull back the curtain on the how. How do these individuals actually operate? What are some of the common manipulation techniques we might actually encounter day to day?
Right, that's the critical next step.
Yeah.
And it's important to say, not all psychological influence is bad, right? Like a parent might manipulate a kid into eating vegetables. That's for their health.
Sure, there's positive influence, too.
Exactly. But when we talk about unhealthy manipulation, it's different. It's coercive, it's subtle, and it's often designed specifically to hide aggressive or self-serving goals. And manipulators, they're often patient. They take their time. They figure out your psychological vulnerabilities first before they deploy their tactics. That's what makes their approach so insidious.
Okay, so give us some examples. What really stands out, particularly those insidious ones, the ones that can kind of chip away at you without you even realizing what's going on?
Well, one of the most damaging, I think, is gaslighting.
Gaslighting. We hear that term a lot now, too.
We do, and for good reason. This technique makes you literally doubt your own reality. It often starts small, with little lies, and then it escalates. The manipulator insists their twisted version of events is the absolute truth. And they do it so forcefully, so consistently, that you start to question your own memory, your sanity, your judgment. It's especially powerful when there's already a power imbalance in the relationship.
So if you constantly feel like you're going crazy because someone keeps denying things you know happen.
That's it. That's your mental alarm bell ringing loud and clear. Trust your gut, trust your memory over their denial.
Okay, gaslighting. What else?
We also see more overt tactics, but still damaging. Things like nagging, not just gentle reminding, but continuously urging someone despite refusal, often with forceful demands, anger, maybe guilt tripping, an or else kind of feeling.
Right, or yelling.
Yes, yelling. Used to intimidate, obviously. Or sometimes, cleverly, to play the victim. Create fear to get compliance, especially when logic isn't on their side. Then there's intimidation. It can be overt bullying, direct threats. But the much more dangerous kind is covert intimidation, using veiled threats.
Like what?
Like a boss implying your promotion depends on doing favors, or an abusive partner subtly playing on your fear of being alone. These covert intimidators are insidious because they hide their true nature behind that veil.
Okay, that makes sense.
Then there's something called traumatic one-trial learning.
One-try learning.
Yeah, it's basically inducing a single really powerful traumatic experience to condition your future behavior. So imagine you calmly confront a colleague about their poor work, right? And they just explode. A huge public tantrum. That one really unpleasant traumatic event can condition you to avoid confronting them ever again about similar stuff.
Yeah.
Just to prevent that awful feeling from repeating. You've been conditioned by one event.
Wow. That's subtle but powerful.
Very. And of course, there's the more straightforward but still very effective manipulation of facts. This isn't always outright lying, necessarily. It's more about cherry-picking information, leaving things out, twisting facts out of context, all to suit their agenda.
How does that usually look?
Oh, it often shows up as making excuses for bad behavior.
Does it?
Or blaming the victim, you made me do it. Or strategically linking certain bits of information to maybe stir up trouble or animosity between other people.
It's quite chilling how many of these tactics just subtly target our emotions, isn't it? They leverage our deepest feelings, sometimes without us even realizing it. Can you break down how that emotional manipulation often starts? Almost imperceptibly.
Absolutely. That's where covert emotional manipulation really comes into play. These tactics are deceptive, underhanded, designed to gain power without you consciously knowing what's happening. A prime example, intermittent positive reinforcement.
Intermittent, like on and off.
Exactly. The manipulator showers you with intense positive reinforcement, praise, affection, gifts, whatever works. Really over the top. Then they just withdraw it, back to normal, or maybe even cold. Then, randomly, unpredictably, they bring the intense positivity back. This creates a kind of emotional addiction to that special treatment.
Like gambling almost, chasing the reward.
Precisely. It makes the victim subservient, constantly seeking the manipulator's approval, always chasing that unpredictable high. It's incredibly effective at creating dependency.
That sounds exhausting. What else falls under covert manipulation?
Another really common one is triangulation.
Triangulation, like bringing a third person in.
Exactly. It creates this dynamic between you, the manipulator, and some third party. It could be an old flame, a random acquaintance they suddenly praise, even a hypothetical person. The goal is to generate insecurity in you, make you feel inadequate, jealous maybe. And that fosters intense attachment to the manipulator because you're seeking their reassurance against this perceived rival. They'll make subtle, unfavorable comparisons between you and this third party.
And if you call them out on it?
Oh, they'll deny everything, deny any interest in the third party, probably blame your insecurity instead, turn it back on you.
Classic deflection.
Textbook. And then there are subtle insults, often disguised as backhanded compliments.
I love that dress. It's so brave of you to wear something like that.
Exactly like that. Remarks that sound complimentary on the surface but have this hidden jab. They're designed to slowly chip away at your self-esteem, make you doubt yourself, and subtly change your behavior over time to please them.
Wow. It really paints a picture of a victim caught in this intricate web, doesn't it? So, what's the end game here? What are manipulators ultimately trying to achieve with all this? Beyond their immediate gains, what are the long-term, really damaging goals?
Well, their end goals are fundamentally about undermining your autonomy, your sense of self, your well-being. It's quite destructive. Firstly, they often strive for the cancellation of willpower.
Weakening your ability to resist.
Precisely. This might involve overloading you with constant decisions, leading to mental exhaustion. It's sometimes called ego depletion or decision fatigue. When you're exhausted like that, you become highly suggestible, easier to push around. Or they might use scarcity tactics like the silent treatment, withholding affection, or even threaten your well-being, your job, your security, to break down your ability to make independent choices.
Okay, undermine willpower. What else?
Secondly, they actively work to destroy self-esteem. This is fundamental to control. Through relentless blame, ridicule, little disparaging comments, maybe emotional neglect, they make you internalize all that criticism. You start to lose your sense of self-worth. You begin to believe their negative version of you.
That sounds incredibly damaging.
It is. And finally, they aim to confuse reality. This ties back strongly to gaslighting. They want to make you question your own judgment, your memories, your perceptions. They might foster delusions or impose a really pessimistic outlook on you, on the world. When your grip on reality is confused, you become mentally weak, much easier for the manipulator to control. They essentially want to substitute their judgment for yours. And if we connect all this back to the bigger picture, these really dark forms of influence, they often piggyback on everyday concepts, like persuasion. Persuasion itself isn't inherently malicious, right? It's a basic human interaction.
Right, exactly. Persuasion isn't automatically evil. We use it all the time, trying to convince people, sell ideas, get colleagues on board. But where's that line? When does persuasion cross over into something darker, something more harmful?
That's the key distinction. Ethical persuasion aims to influence positively. Getting people with different ideas onto the same page for mutual benefit, maybe. Dark persuasion, though, that operates with amoral or even immoral motivations. It leads people to act against their own self-interest, sometimes without even realizing they're being manipulated.
So how is that done? What are the methods?
Well, methods can range widely. It could involve using force, maybe as a last resort, or asking very specific leading questions designed to steer you towards a particular answer. A big one is leveraging commitment and consistency. Get you to agree to something small first.
The foot in the door technique.
Exactly. That small yes makes it harder to say no to a larger request later. People want to appear consistent. We also see the power of social proof, influencing your behavior based on what others are doing. The power of the crowd effect. If everyone else is doing it.
It must be okay, right?
Right. Or using authority. People tend to believe experts or those who seem like experts. So manipulators might falsely present themselves that way.
Yeah.
They can also create a need where one didn't really exist before. use loaded images and words that trigger specific emotions, and even media persuasion by sound. Think about catchy commercial jingles. McDonald's, I'm loving it. That's a form of persuasion, implanting preference.
Yeah, it's all about subtly shifting perception, isn't it?
That's the core of it.
It's quite stark, though, how quickly that line from persuasion can be crossed into something much more intense, something that really overtakes someone's will, like brainwashing. Can you explain that distinction?
Yeah, brainwashing. At its core, it's really about forcing someone to completely abandon their old beliefs and embrace entirely new ones, usually ones that serve the brainwasher. And while we often associate it with really extreme situations like prisoner of war camps or cults,
Right.
milder forms, or at least techniques borrowed from it, actually happen daily, influencing us in subtle ways.
Yeah.
But for what we might call true brainwashing, in those more extreme contexts, there are key techniques. Isolation is huge.
Cutting people off from their support systems.
Exactly. Separating the target from friends, family, anyone who might offer a different rational perspective makes them totally reliant on the manipulator's view. And then systematically breaking down the self, constantly telling the person they're wrong, instilling deep guilt or shame about their past beliefs or actions. And then, once they're broken down, introducing the new belief system, often with rewards for compliance and punishment for dissent.
That sounds terrifyingly systematic.
It is. And other tactics often get thrown in. Love bombing, that intense fake affection to create a false sense of belonging. Unbending rules, no privacy to control every tiny aspect of life. Constant verbal abuse to grind down self-esteem. It's a whole suite of techniques designed to break someone. But like I said, milder versions are everywhere.
Daily examples.
Think about those commercial jingles again. Print ads, company logos constantly in your face, political propaganda. They're all, in a way, forms of brainwashing, designed to make you believe you'll be happier, safer, better, whatever, by adopting certain ideas or buying certain products. Repetition and emotional association are key.
And then there's this other term, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. That sounds incredibly powerful, almost like a secret language for the mind.
NLP, yeah. Neuro-linguistic programming. It is a fascinating and, yes, powerful system. It's essentially a learning system that connects your various senses, sight, sound, feeling, with language, how we represent the world internally. And it can be used therapeutically as a rapid form of psychological therapy. It can help with things like depression, phobias, by changing how you process things, altering behaviors.
But it can be used for dark manipulation, too.
Oh, absolutely, because it's so effective at influencing thought patterns and behavior. NLP is very structured, it's process-oriented, really efficient. It focuses much more on the how of human experience rather than the why. How do you do anxiety rather than why are you anxious?
Interesting. What are the main components?
Well, it often talks about pillars, like behavioral flexibility, being able to adapt your actions to get the result you want. Rapport, building that deep sense of trust and connection, which is crucial for influence. Outcome thinking, always focusing clearly on the desired result. And sensory awareness, paying incredibly close attention to sensory details in yourself and others. A really significant connection here is to Ericksonian hypnosis.
Hypnosis, like stage hypnosis.
Not quite. Ericksonian hypnosis, named after Milton Erickson, is much more subtle. It often uses stories, metaphors, indirect language. The idea is to communicate directly with the unconscious mind, kind of bypassing your conscious critical thinking, your resistance. It cleverly leverages those natural trance-like states we all drift into daily. You know, like when you're driving on autopilot and suddenly realize you don't remember the last few miles.
Yeah, definitely done that.
Right. NLP and Ericksonian techniques tap into that suggestibility. Their power lies in reducing or eliminating resistance to suggestions, making it a very potent tool for good or potentially for ill.
This is, wow, it's a lot to take in. And it really raises a critical question, doesn't it? Are we all just sort of sitting ducks for these techniques? Are we defenseless? Or can we actually develop some kind of mental, maybe emotional armor against these forces?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the hopeful answer is yes, you absolutely can build defenses. And a key part of that is understanding why some people are more susceptible than others. Manipulators don't pick victims randomly. They actively look for specific traits. They look for those red flags that signal vulnerability. If you know what they're looking for, you can work on strengthening those areas in yourself.
Okay, that makes sense. So what are those red flags? What kind of traits do manipulators actively seek out in a potential victim? What makes someone seem like an easy target?
Well, several things stand out. Manipulators often target individuals showing signs of emotional insecurity and fragility. This often comes across as being very defensive under pressure. A manipulator might subtly provoke someone just to see how they react, to gauge that fragility.
Testing the waters.
Exactly. They also frequently prey on highly empathic people.
Really? You'd think empathy is a strength.
It is, but manipulators exploit it. Empaths are so attuned to others' feelings, they often internalize others' suffering. This makes them really easy targets for guilt tripping, for sob stories. Think of con artists making up financial difficulties. An empath struggles to dismiss those doubts because their instinct is to help, rather than deny someone possibly in genuine need, even if the story feels off.
That's tough. What else makes someone vulnerable?
A really pervasive one is the fear of loneliness. This fear can be absolutely paralyzing for some people. It can cause individuals to tolerate terrible treatment, even abuse, just to avoid being alone. Manipulators are adept at identifying this fear and then actively fueling it, making the person clingier, more dependent, easier to control. And this fear, it hits both men and women hard, often due to different societal pressures, but the effect is similar.
That's a powerful lever for them to pull.
Hugely powerful. And related to that, individuals with dependent personality traits, or even a full disorder, are unfortunately prime targets. These individuals have an excessive need to be cared for, which leads to submissiveness, clinginess, real difficulty making decisions on their own. They often willingly hand over control, offering very little resistance to a manipulator who steps in to take care of them.
Okay, this is crucial then. Knowing our potential vulnerabilities is that first vital step. But how do we actually build that shield? What are the really actionable steps you can take listening now to protect yourself and build that inner strength?
Right. And defense isn't about hiding away or becoming paranoid. It's about cultivating inner strength so you can confront manipulation head on without fear. And the absolute foundation, the bedrock, it's to build self-esteem.
Easier said than done sometimes.
True, but essential. This starts with self-acceptance, really appreciating who you are, including your flaws, owning them. Self-improvement should come from within, from your own desire, not from external pressure or criticism. And actively face your fears, even small ones. Confront at least one fear daily if you can. It builds resilience, confidence, proves to yourself you can handle discomfort.
Okay, build self-esteem. What else?
Next, you need to increase awareness and self-awareness. Be more observant. Approach interactions with a healthy dose of skepticism. Not cynicism, but awareness. Study body language, listen carefully to words, look for hidden motives or inconsistencies, and just as vital, know yourself. Understand your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, your triggers, your emotional responses. This self-knowledge creates what psychologists call cognitive dissonance when someone tries to manipulate you. That mental clash, that feeling of, wait, that's not right, that's not me. It helps you hold on to your identity.
So knowing yourself is a defense mechanism.
A powerful one. Another really useful technique, especially if dealing with manipulative people you can't easily cut off, is to detach with love.
Detach with love. What does that mean?
It means showing love, compassion, basic human decency, but without taking responsibility for the other person's actions, choices, or feelings. Stop trying to fix everyone's problems, especially the manipulator's self-inflicted ones. Let them face the natural consequences of their choices. This frees you up to prioritize your own needs, your own well-being, which in turn builds your self-esteem.
That sounds like setting healthy boundaries.
It absolutely is. And related to that is learning to manage your reactions. Don't let them provoke you into emotional responses they can then use against you. Train yourself to pause and think before reacting, especially in conflict. Take a deep breath. Just create that tiny window for deliberation before you respond emotionally. Aim for calm rationality. And critically, control internalization. Understand that negative things people say only have the meaning you choose to give them. You can actively choose not to absorb their negativity, not to make it part of your self-concept.
Easier said than done, but crucial.
Very. To really empower yourself, you need to become autonomous and take control. Exercise your free will. Make decisions based on your own judgment and values, not because you feel pressured or coerced, internally or externally. And maintain your identity, even in close relationships. Have your own goals, interests, ambitions. Know where you end and others begin. Don't get enmeshed.
That sense of self seems key.
It is. And never, ever underestimate the power of trusting your instincts. That gut feeling.
The gut feeling. Is that real?
Oh, it's very real. It's your subconscious processing subtle cues much faster than your conscious mind. Learn to recognize that feeling when something just feels off. even if you can't logically explain why yet. It's a crucial survival mechanism. It can alert you to danger or deception that your logical brain might dismiss. Meditation can actually help quiet the conscious chatter so you can hear that inner voice more clearly.
Interesting. Trust your gut. Anything else?
Yes. Finally, cultivate effective communication, both what you say and how you say it, your nonverbals. Verbally, be clear, be kind but firm, think before you speak, choose words carefully, be confident, and importantly, give others space to speak too. Listen actively. Nonverbally, learn to read body language in others because it accounts for a huge chunk of communication, like 60–65%.
What should we look for?
Pay attention to facial expressions. Subtle shifts can reveal a lot. Gestures, clenched fists, maybe? Eye contact, are they avoiding it? Or is it too intense? Posture open and relaxed, or closed off and defensive? Personal space, are they invading yours? Even physiological changes like sweating or blushing can be tells. These skills help you detect potential deception and also help you project confidence and signal your own boundaries non-verbally.
Wow, that's a comprehensive toolkit for defense. This whole deep dive has really peeled back some complex layers, hasn't it? Dark psychology, influence. It's not just about avoiding obviously bad people. It feels more about understanding the nuances of human nature, our own included, and really strengthening ourselves from the inside out.
Indeed. That's exactly the point. The knowledge we've unpacked today, it isn't meant to make you paranoid or distrustful of everyone. It's about cultivating wisdom, discernment, and building that personal resilience so you can navigate your interactions more effectively, more safely. Awareness, strong self-esteem, critical thinking, those are your primary defenses against manipulation.
So as you go back out into your world, maybe consider this. If mastering these skills means you can start recognizing when others might be trying to play you, what subtle cues might you be giving off, maybe unconsciously, that someone else could potentially exploit? And maybe more importantly, how will you use this newfound awareness? Not just to protect yourself, but perhaps to empower your own authentic connections, built on genuine trust and respect, something to think about. We definitely encourage you to continue your own journey of self-reflection and observation.